I can absolutely guarantee you this life as a transplant patient will be so much easier if you do not try to go it alone. Stay tuned on today's Transplant Help. We're going to talk about how you can reach out and gain some support. Hey folks, I appreciate you being with me today on the Transplant Helper podcast / YouTube video series. My name is still Jim Merle, and I don't plan on changing it, but I do want to thank you for being with me today. Now, I've hit kind of a mile marker in the Transplant Helper video series, and that is at the time of recording, I've reached just over 100 YouTube subscribers, and that's a big accomplishment for somebody like me because I'm not trying to be a YouTube sensation. I'm just trying to get up there and get a couple of subscribers so that we can help to share the word. So if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, let me encourage you to do that. Not for my benefit, but for your benefit, so that if you're a transplant patient of any sort or planning to be one day, Lord willing, then you'll receive the updates of these videos and you'll know when the new ones come out. That would help me a lot, but hopefully would help you a lot also. Now, getting into today's program, we're going to be talking about needing a support group in your life. Now, certainly you have a support system, I hope, already built into your life with your caregivers and you know, your doctors, your nurses, your coordinators, your pharmacists, all those people. If hopefully, like we talked about in a previous video, you built relationships with those people, I hope that they have also become your supporters in what you're trying to live, which is a successful type of life to survive this life and to move into eternity. Now, that's where we're trying to be at right now, is just to survive. But in addition to that, I encourage all the patients that I ever deal with on a face-to-face basis just to join some type of support group. And typically speaking, all transplant centers that at least I've been involved with or ever heard of, somewhere within that system, they have some kind of support group that is available. Now, it may be a professional type support group, and I mean by that, there may be some doctors, nurses, coordinators, and other social workers and such that head that up and that drive that group. And most times than not, it may just be solely driven by volunteers and other transplant recipients or the loved ones of those transplant recipients. But nonetheless, I would encourage everyone to be involved in some level in their local transplant center support groups. Now, why is that? Well, I think the reasons are pretty obvious. You need to be around people at times who are in the same situation you are. As I say about myself sometimes, I've been there and I'm currently doing that. I'm dealing with this transplant life right now. 4 years out of transplant, I'm living the life of a heart transplant patient. So the advice I give you is practical from my experiences sometimes. Not just the experience of others, but my experiences. But one of the benefits that I get from going and visiting with patients and from receiving your comments and such as that, your feedback, is that I learn from you. And a better place for us all to gain that information is through some kind of transplant support group. Now, whether you're a heart, a liver, a lung, a kidney, a pancreas, whatever type of transplant you have had or may be having, be seeking these things out. Now, I'll admit to you, when I first had my transplant, or was in the process of getting my transplant, I should say, I didn't know there was such thing. I didn't know there was a group of people who met together to be a transplant support group. But I was in HTICU, that's Heart Transplant Intensive Care Unit. And while I was there, I was just kind of walking the halls as they ask us to do, and I enjoyed doing. You get bored sitting in your room. And I walked around and saw this laying on the nurse's desk. Now, that's just a heart and lung and liver transplant support group newsletter that happens to go along with my transplant center, the UAB hospital. Now, at the time, I picked that up, didn't really know what it was, and began to read through it. And it was interesting to me because in this particular newsletter, and of course, everyone who puts out a newsletter will be different. This one, I think, is headed up by volunteers. A man by the name of Stan Smith is the president of our local chapter, our local support group, and he does an outstanding job of organizing all of our events and putting together this newsletter. But very simply stated, I was attracted to a little list he has here, which I won't show you very clearly for kind of privacy things, but he has a list right here of hearts and lungs and livers and kidneys and all these people who have basically their heart and lung, whatever, transplant anniversaries or birthdays. And it just so happens this is this month's edition, the May edition. So right down here at the bottom, it says heart, Jim Merle, 2013. And I think all of us like seeing the people who are listed here who have had successful transplants and really doing the math right quick of how long they've been involved. There's several people here who've had their transplant since the year 2000 just in this issue. So that lets me know, okay, there are many 17-year survivors right here with heart transplants. That helps. But better yet, inside of these newsletters, he chooses, and maybe your transplant center likewise, or support group does also, he chooses to let us know what the upcoming events are, such as the dinners, the meetings, the different things that they have going on where they come together and interact personally or face-to-face, and they share their stories and at times share their struggles. You see, it means a lot to be able to sit down with someone, again, who's in your situation and say, okay, here's what I'm dealing with right now. Here's what I'm struggling with right now. Here's what my problem is right now. And here's how I'm fighting that, or here's how I'm just getting by and dealing with that. On the other side of that, it means an awful lot to sit down with people to say, hey, my life right now as a transplant patient is great. My life is wonderful. And maybe you're sharing in the joy of that, or maybe you're on the little lesser side of it and you're saying, hey, but there's hope around the corner. There's a time when I'm going to feel great like he does or like she does. You see, all of that is going to amount to lifting and encouraging you in your transplant journey. So, pick up a newsletter, find out the information, see if your local transplant center, they more than likely do, if they have some sort of support group. And when you find out about that, see if there's a way you can be involved. See if you can at least reach out to them and attend some of those meetings. And, of course, by the time you attend a meeting, I can imagine you'd sit there and exchange information with someone. Get some phone numbers, get some Facebook, names, and get involved. I promise the support is something you will need. Now, what I want to encourage you to do from this point on is just to reach out. Reach out to me. If you need anything, reach out to others that are around you. I live in a small town of about 1,800 currently right now, and I spoke to a local newspaper about this. They're doing a piece on organ donation and all of that, because right now in our little town, we've got no less than 3 people in this town waiting on organs, a total of 6 just in the last 4 years or so who have received organs. Now, it's 1,800 people. That's kind of a high ratio or percentage. And I know people probably within 10 miles of here, probably 15 people who have had transplants of some sort. So it's a big thing, and it's something that if you'll reach out very far at all, you'll probably find someone who can help you. Again, that's just kind of what I'm suggesting for you for today. Now, let me ask you a question before we go. If you want to comment below, send me an email, go to my Twitter account, transplant_help. I'd love to hear from you. Have you reached out to your support group? And if so, how have they helped you? I'd love to hear about it. Please subscribe to this channel, like, share these videos, and any suggestions I put up here of other videos you can watch, which, by the way, I don't just suggest my own videos. Give them a watch. You're on YouTube anyway. Keep clicking. Until next time, stay stronger, friends.